Previously on the All Skulls On podcast, the Actman challenged Reykjavik to a one-on-one duel.
Your subjective opinions are objectively incorrect.
I think this is just proof that you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to video games.
With both their powers being equally matched, Hidden Xperia jumped into the fray and gave the Actman a brutal pummeling.
You just have some seriously objectively wrong opinions.
Battling against the odds, Actman called upon his trusty friend Fabian to back him up.
How about Resident Evil 4?
Here's a question for you, though. What about Resident Evil 6?
You're wrong. Wrong.
The stadium exploded as the four fighters collided.
Ray, let's just cut the bullshit.
Amazing.
Let's just cut
Right
the
now.
bullshit.
But, to their surprise, a new warrior had been watching from afar, at last revealing himself.
Zubu!
Can our brave heroes handle this new threat? And just who is this mysterious challenger? Find out today. Welcome to the All Skulls On podcast, hosted by your boy, the one and only Mactman,
You're not that great.
with an M.
No.
No?
The Macked Man? I don't even know what
I
you're
don't
going
know.
for.
What are you on about?
Beats me. I just got nice and peppy from that little intro. Anyways, we have a special guest today, Mr. I Hate Everything.
Hi
Why
there,
don't
thanks
you-
for having me on.
You got it. Well, you haven't been on for long yet, so don't be thanking me.
Who should I be thanking then?
Thank me.
Yeah.
I'll be the.
Okay, thank you,
the
Hidden
British,
Xperia.
the British connection. Yeah,
Yeah.
British Connection,
Crap.
sweet.
What's up with all
Which
this
is-
British pride?
our new
Yeah,
band, the British Connection.
That sounds like a really bad boy band from the 90s.
The
that probably
British
failed in
Connection.
1999.
The British
Or a
Connection.
really shitty sequel to French Connection.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I Hate Everything.
Seems pretty
I'm a YouTube
self-explanatory.
channel. It is quite self-explanatory. I always hate being asked this because I never know what to say. I'm a YouTube channel. I make videos about hating everything. I guess to put it blunt.
In case you couldn't tell.
That just sounds kind of sad right now, to be honest. I just kind of want to almost cuddle him. Just aw, no, just calm down.
I'm
there, buddy.
incredibly lonely.
He's not a,
And
he's not a
the emoji
fucking
moving
hamster,
it down in the
dude.
spiral.
He's not a hamster. Like, little guy.
Who cuddles hamsters? Is that something you do?
I mean, in your hands.
You
I've
cuddle
never
them?
had a hamster. I wouldn't know.
I feel like you
feel
could
like we're
cut
We're
off
just slowly learning more and more about Actman with every episode of this show.
Yeah.
Anyways, the topic of this podcast is what we hate about video games. And this
I
can
see what you
be...
did there.
That is
You-
clever.
Yeah.
That is ingenious.
Did you,
Very
did you
timely.
see it coming? Yeah? Yeah? Little
I guess
snap?
that's just a coincidence, right?
Yeah, you know, the
You've been
topic
planning
just,
this for
came
months.
to
In
me.
fact, the topic came first, and we're like, hey, isn't there a guy whose YouTube channel is kind of like that?
Yeah, so
All
this
right,
can
Macked man, take us away.
this can involve any
Yeah, this ought to be
facet-
good.
What? Oh, me?
Yeah.
You're the guest.
You're the host. Come on, man.
Yeah, you're the
Come
host,
on.
dude.
All right.
I want
Stop,
the
stop
Macked
being
man to
peppy
lead
and
us.
start getting angry.
All
Come
right.
on now.
This time on Actman Ball Z.
What?
does that have to do with
Man,
it?
what was
That's
that?
not what I thought was going to happen at all, no.
Okay.
I thought we were going
All
to
right.
talk about stuff and say you're going straight
Well,
back into the parody.
Let's just start. I've been playing Gauntlet Dark Legacy. If you guys know what that game is, thank you. You're my best friend.
Not
But
plebs.
I've been playing that.
No idea.
Oh, we do have a
Fucking
pleb.
queers. Anyways, I've been playing that with my buddies. Like, I had a couple buddies over. We're just talking about, what game do we want to play? I don't know. Let's look on the shelf for some shit. And lo and behold, Gauntlet Dark Legacy. So, we pop that in, and just all the memories come flooding back. And for those of you that haven't played it, it's this old arcade game that was really, really fun. It's kind of like a beat 'em up, similar to the Diablo games, except it's more arcadey and grindy. Anyways, that just got me thinking, because it's such a fun game to play with your friends, that sort of co-op, it isn't like a focal point of design anymore like it used to be. Like, you could buy a game back in the day that you'd play the single player and be like, oh yeah, there's a multiplayer because every game came with like some local co-op thing that you could play, and I just hate that nowadays it's not a focus anymore. Like me and my buddies were just lamenting, like, "Oh man, if only they made a sequel." Yeah, well they're not. I know it sucks. Hold me, okay.
Yeah, I actually think I saw an article. Was it by not an article, but a video by Game Ranks, I think it was, and they just made a video on like the death of single player games or something like that. I know that's like a conversation that's kind of been going around recently.
Yeah, I did not want to bring up this, but I think the article you were talking about is from Polygon.
Oh dear.
Don't give them publicity.
This is
Favin, you better run for the hills now, buddy.
Uh-oh.
Never speak again. Go into exile.
People are getting their pitchforks.
Do you guys think that holds any weight, though? Do you really think single-player games are...
I don't think single-player games are dying. I think they're just simply moving. Like,
because towards an indie type.
Because like if you there was that popular that image trending around on Twitter, when someone was showing like oh, games are not in this market. Oh, well, look at all these games that are high rank. Now I totally understand where the person is coming from, but only 3 or 4 of those were AAA games. Everything else was middle market or indie, and I think that's where single player games are moving to.
Which is actually going to be a benefit for them as well, because
it
allows them to be a lot more free in the design. It allows them to follow the original path of the creator more, instead of having a publisher come in there and start dictating what they can and can't have.
Well, not just that, but it also puts more emphasis on design, because I think a problem that single-player games have been running into being in the AAA industry is that they have to play it so safe that the emphasis goes on things like cutscenes and graphical fidelity, which I can only speak for myself, but when I've been watching E3, I am just not impressed by graphics anymore. Like, it's not that I don't appreciate them. Like, if a game has fantastic gameplay and all that type of stuff, and it has great graphics, awesome. Like, that's a great bonus. But that's never a thing to carry a game for me anymore. It's something that, if that's what's holding the experience, it will last for maybe a couple of minutes before I get tired of it.
Yeah,
graphics were really like a big, like, mid 360 era type thing when you start having games like Battlefield 3 coming out and Halo 4 that start to, like, genuinely look pretty good. And then after that, it sort of, I don't know, graphical fidelity sort of like leveled off. There weren't as many increases as around that time, at least in my opinion.
What do you mean?
Like,
when Mario 64 came out, like, that was the greatest looking game ever.
I'm pretty sure people thought
Turok Evolution was the
Ocarina
nicest
like
looking
that.
game ever.
I remember looking at Gran Turismo 3 as a kid and going, wow, this looks like life.
Dude, I still look at Halo CE, walking out the lifeboat, and think, holy shit, this looks good. I still think that looks good.
Okay,
well, here's the thing about like the single player thing. I was actually working on a video. I feel like it's way better than it was even a few years ago when it comes to single player games. Like, look at like what Bethesda's doing. I think like 80% of their titles are single player games, and I'd say 80% of the games I've bought this year are single player games. Like, I just bought Evil Within 2, Horizon Zero Dawn earlier.
I gotta get that, by the way.
Prey, Dishonored 2, Wolfenstein 2 is coming out later this year. Like, there are still, like, a lot of high-profile single-player games. In fact, I'd say there are more than there even used to be. So...
yeah, like Zelda, Mario's coming out.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, Super Mario Odyssey. It will be so good.
It's really just, like, honestly, it's the out-of-tune publishers who are shifting from this, out of tune, out of
touch. It's
the
gamers who are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like there is tons of evidence to support that there's an audience for those types of games. I think we as gamers need to do better. I think we need to support games that break from the norm, because if we're always complaining about all these games doing the exact same shitty business practices, which is the topic of the day, then we need to support the games that don't do shitty business practices.
Witcher 3, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, these publishers seem way too caught up in like microtransactions and the amount of revenue they can make off solely putting resources into multiplayer experiences.
Well, you heard
they're missing the potential of things like The Witcher, or obviously a completely different type of thing, but Cuphead, like the successes of these games that focus solely on single player gameplay.
Well, it's got co-op.
Where, like you said, there's clearly a market for.
It's got co-op.
But they're too focused on just multiplayer.
Well,
stuff,
and that's the thing.
Let's bring the mic over to Alex, Mr. Hates everything. What do you hate in this particular scenario?
In this scenario, the co-op thing?
I don't know. Video games in general, co-op.
Are we moving on from this one?
Whichever direction you want to take it.
I have a whole list here. It's jumping a little bit from what we were just talking about with the single player games dying.
It's like the river, free flowing.
Yeah, so this one is actually going not into problems with the industry itself, but more about how some people decide to play games. We're all big Halo fans here, or we're all whatever you want to say. There's one thing that always makes me so angry every time it happens to me when I'm playing Halo, and it's the undeserved teabag. Do you know what I mean? Nothing pisses me off more than like someone gets a really lame. They like happen to throw a grenade, it bounces off a wall and kill you. They weren't planning it at all, and they come over and teabag you as if they earned it,
like,
as if they fought.
Cocky.
Or it's like you'll get that person that you have outgunned 7 times in a row. They get you when you have no shields and no health, and then they're like, "Yeah, get wrecked, bitch! Fuck you!"
It's even worse when their friend kills you, and then he comes over to you and starts bagging you. It's like, dude, you didn't even fucking kill me. Your friend did, and he's over there getting another kill.
Right, you get like a triple kill and barely get out of there with any shields. Someone just like with like an assault rifle or something. It's like, I gotta get a teabag for that one. Woohoo!
The worst is probably when you got some shithead on your team who betrays you and then teabags you. It's like the double whammy of not only are you fucking around, but you're being a dick about it too.
Betrays you, takes your sniper, teabags you, and shoots your body with the sniper.
That reminds me of an old clip that I actually posted where there was this guy who I didn't know it at the time, but apparently he was like someone trying to break into the montage community back in the Halo 3 days. And it was a clip of this dude hunting me down with the assault rifle, chasing me for a minute because I had sniper rifle. I just turn around and deck him and get a double kill on that immediately after. And he just left the game after that. And it was Halo 3. I don't know why, because I played a lot of Halo 2 and 3. Halo 3, to this day, I still run into people like that. Yet for every other Halo, it's like they kind of fizzled out and went away.
Big team on Halo 3 Backwards Compat. Still has that problem in like 9 out of 10 games. It's so fucking irritating. Like, the game is 10 years old. Can you please go and betray in a more modern game?
I just don't know why the sniper rifle in that game has just like this lust that so many players.
To be fair, it's probably the most satisfying, the most skillful and satisfying out of all of them in the series.
I could see that, yeah.
The sniper was like the Elder Wand, from Harry Potter, which these other two Brits will. They'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're on about.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm rolling along with this.
Yeah, definitely was more of a Harry Potter fan than Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you get the sniper and it's like having the Elder Wand. Everyone wants it, so you're in constant danger.
I mean, it's like having the sorting hat, so everyone wants to fucking get angry at you.
Yeah, we're getting sidetracked. I will say, I do like to do a slow bag. A slow tea bag, one that lets you know I'm in control. When I kill someone, I don't like to do the fast bag where they're like twitching rapidly.
But that's just what the tea bag is. Otherwise, they're like,
that's when you got places to be.
Is he strategically
it's a
crouching?
Slow bag. It's a slow controlled bag. You do one and then you do two, so it's not a mistake.
Yeah, but is that actually how you bag tea? Brit guys, is that how you bag tea?
I actually bag it quite fast.
Shake it up and down like a freaking...
Yeah, you do.
No, you can do. You can actually like dip it in. Now, when I make tea, I normally dip it in like 3 or 4 times, and then I leave it in. I leave the bag in the tea, mix it around for probably like 20 seconds, add like a milliliter of milk, and then you're Gucci.
Do you get really angry?
Dude,
to screw that
I
up?
want you to imagine exactly what you just described. Just go in real fast, leave it in a few times, get some milk in there. Just think about it. Come on.
This is a Christian podcast. We're a nice family-friendly program over
Christian
here.
Channel.
You're going to demonetize us just like that?
Minecraft podcast. Please leave any bad words in
Donate
the
to our
lava.
Patreon. Milk. We don't have a Patreon yet.
What about you, Xperia? Let's pass the torch to you. What do you hate most about video games? What's the worst mechanic or the worst type of shit?
Invisible motherfucking barriers. Hard kill barriers, soft kill barriers, and death barriers.
I'm sure this will never find its way back to talking about Halo 2 at all. Nope, I'm sure that game will never
actually thought about this point in the shower earlier, I'll have you know. And every single point that I thought about in that 15-minute shower came back to Halo 2. So we're going to talk about Halo 2, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go.
Strap your seatbelts on, get yourself a nice cup of tea, as I explained earlier, in that method.
Get some milk in there. Get some milk in there.
And let's talk about some invisible barriers. Some milk.
Definitely.
Let the milk rest for 5 seconds or so, and let's talk about some invisible kill barriers. So For the record, there are 3 types of kill barriers. You've got soft ones, which basically you walk into an area and it says, return to the battlefield, and there's 10 seconds left before it kills you.
Stupid-ass timer that's gotta
yeah, it's just some like cringy-ass message like, soldier, get back to the battlefield, you're needed in the war. Like, no, you fucking not. It's a simulation.
I'd like to see the analytics of how many people drop off right here.
Actually, this is where people join. I think you'll find.
Okay.
You have hard barriers, which is like an invisible wall. You walk into them, you can't move, and then you've got kill barriers, which take a while to fucking guess. So
but
basically,
Xperia,
kill barriers.
I don't understand. Please go into more detail.
Yes, please kill our analytics, Xperia.
Well, if you lads would quit distracting him.
Yeah, if I could speak, maybe people would not tune out. But you know.
But then Fabian charged up his laser and aimed it at hidden Xperia's points.
Okay, right. I'm going to finish my point now. Okay. So basically, barriers of any sort that limit movement in the map, in the campaign, or in multiplayer. Obviously, multiplayer is a bit more controlled because it has been more balanced, but anything that limits freedom of movement in a map irritates me because I don't like being told specifically where to go. It's why I don't like really linear mission design, because I like to be given time to sort of explore areas and look around the map and look around for different routes and look around for secrets in the map. And that is, I'm going to get back to Halo 2 because Halo 2 did it so damn well. That's one of the reasons Halo 2's campaign for me has so much replayability, because I know that, for example, on Delta Halo, if I see a mountain in the background of Delta Halo, I know for an absolute fact I can get there somehow. Whether I use the Sputnik skull and nades or rocket jump or take a ghost or whatever, I know for a fact I can get there. Whereas if you look at even Halo 3's campaign, you can break out like most ways. Obviously, I'm not going to say there's no barriers in Halo 2 because there's the odd one, but a majority of the areas don't have any. Whereas you look at literally Halo 3, Reach, 4, 5, they all have them everywhere. Like, you're so confined into the play space. I don't know. It might just be a problem that pisses me off specifically, but I don't like being told
I'm right there with you. It's kind of like going into one of those, Japanese trains where they're literally like crammed together. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like when a game has all these invisible barriers. You just feel like there's so many Japanese people crushing into me.
This can't be taken out of context at all.
No. Yeah, this is definitely not going to get demonetized at all.
No.
Fab, your video about that was great as well, because it's like 10-second kill barriers in Halo, fucking irritating. 3-second kill barriers in Infinite Warfare, like, pardon?
No,
really?
here's the thing. You say that, I think those 3-second barriers, because did we all play the Call of Duty World War II beta?
Yes, we did.
I think so, but it's like...
Oh, no, did I Hate Everything play it?
No.
You're not missing out much.
You didn't miss much.
Like,
you didn't miss much.
It really...
I just watched your videos.
I think that kill barrier specifically ruined the war mode for me. Because there are very specific areas that they want you to use as flanking routes or just can't. But as a result, it ends up just making the same gun battles over and over and over again, even within the same match, not even counting if you're making a new one.
Where are you going, soldier?
Sounds like you just quoted.
And again, 3 fucking seconds. What the hell?
Yeah, that is an awful decision. There's that bit on the map in the beta, the war map, where you have to build the bridge, and there is literally one area you can shoot
path.
There's the fucking barn. Like, why? Who thought having one area to engage the enemy from in a supposedly larger, more open game type was a wise idea? I just don't.
Imagine if they did that in a Battlefield game.
That's the thing right there.
Precisely.
Well, that's the thing right there, and that's kind of what I talked about in that.
I'd like to bring up another point.
Okay, Ackman, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
The classic, it's the recurring trend where I always got to interrupt Fabian at
that's
some
the second
point
time
or another.
This episode.
It's my favorite part.
At one point, he's just going to snap, dude. You're just going to... Fabian's going to go Super Saiyan.
Oh, like you did in the last one. So there's certain games, and this is mostly RPGs, where like you'll get to a certain point, you're fighting a boss, right? And the boss is like really fucking difficult. So you die, and then you got to restart. So you just turn your console off, and you turn it back on. For the older ones, you try again, you die. That happens countless times, and then you die, and you're like, fuck it, I want to just see the end screen, and then it's like the story moves on, and you're like, what the fuck? I was supposed to die there. There's a couple of those boss battles, and it's
they're
specifically
like rare occurrences, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, they are pretty rare.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of those in the Tales of games. Yes, I know. We've established this. I'm a fag for playing those. I don't care.
Oh, the JRPGs. Eggman's a
Bring in the Bill Burr stuff. He likes JRPGs.
Yeah.
What a fag.
But
right?
they got those occasional boss
JRPGs.
battles.
He's got kill a kill on the background. Just multitasking.
Here's another quick thing. A lot of these JRPGs, they start off on the most innocuous, just like stupid plot point that doesn't even matter. It's like, oh, I found a penny. 80 hours later, come on, guys, the power is about to destroy the world.
The supervillain was that penny, though.
Yeah, or something.
It's like the movie Tire, where the main antagonist is a car tire, and instead of that, it's a coin.
I'm gonna make this game now.
That's an actual movie. I'm not even kidding.
Moving on. Who wants to offer the next thing?
I got a good one.
Yeah,
I hate
a good one.
Ooh,
This one, it's not ironic. Okay, this is a writing problem I've noticed with like.
Oh yes.
A lot of games tend to sort of fall back on now when they're trying to create likable characters, and it's making every single character Nathan Drake basically. Like the last big game I remember doing it that really bugged me was Gears of War 4. I don't know if you noticed this, but like every character was Nathan Drake. Everyone was the same like archetypal kind of character. Everything was more guys are coming. Great, that kind of tone, and it's fine when it's just like one character. But in that game specifically, it was like every character was that same. You could just take one person's line, give it to another person, and you wouldn't tell the difference. And
I blame Joss
more
Whedon
things are doing that
for popularizing that.
Yeah, I was about to say
the
Marvel.
Charismatic guy. That's
Was this so funny? I remember listening to Yahtzee on a podcast that you can't find anymore rant about this like 10, 15 years ago. And people hated him for it. Like, because this was like around the time that like, everyone was really sad that Firefly got canceled and people were starting to find it again and they were loving, Buffy and all that type of stuff. And people were going, how can you say that? Joss Whedon's writing is amazing. Come, the Avengers, its sequel, and then James Gunn popularizing it with Guardians of the Galaxy and everyone else doing this writing style. And suddenly it's just so fucking grating to listen to.
Yeah, it is.
I refer to it as the Fillion scale. Like, they're all Nathan Fillion, and it's just like, which character is more Fillion-y? Like, between Halo 5 and Destiny 2, which one is more Fillion-y?
Yeah.
They're both the same.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a character having charisma, but
no,
they have to add.
I do think the book did that best though, because like book had more to him than just the charisma. Like his
in
character
ODST,
had more to him than...
yeah, Buck in ODST, not in
ODST,
5.
Not in Halo 5. No, God no. In 5, they rode mostly off just him being Nathan Fillion.
The difference between his characters is like, okay, how much shit can I get away with? All right, then I'll just be Nathan Fillion to that degree. That's basically what he is.
It's like, I think we need to create like a gauge. I think we need to create like a
like a
machine.
scale. Today I'm going to be 77% Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, it's like it's something like you hold over a script, and it's like you will get to a character. And it's like, holy shit, this one's off the scale. We got to dial that back down.
My God,
No,
we literally have
think
Nathan
about
Fillion as the voice actor here. Wow.
Imagine if in A New Hope, like all three of them were Han Solo, basically. You know what I mean?
Who shot first then? Who shot first?
Oh, God damn it.
Oh, look, Darth Vader here to steal the plans.
That adds another 2 variables to the equation. That just fucks like that whole equation up even more.
What if Greedo was Han Solo and they just keep constantly missing and
oh
missing,
shit, dude. That's like a chicken and egg situation.
Right?
Who shot first?
Like who shoots first if they're both Han Solo?
A real Jaden Smith thinker question.
Right. Put that on the wall in Left 4 Dead right there.
I think it'd probably be funny to tackle the writing of video games, because for a while, video games had decent writing until they didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think they might have had decent writing in comparison to older video games.
I just said that to make a joke. I want you to know.
Yeah, I got it.
I hate everything. You,
Max, man, yeah.
You've got that like stuck in my head now because of your videos. Like,
it really stood out to me in Destiny. Every time they said it, it's just the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it was like, and they had another line like that in the first Destiny that I picked up on. It was like, and that was the end of everything.
Yes, everything just stopped.
It feels like a placeholder line. Yeah. Like they put it in there, like, okay, we'll add more to that later. We'll come back to that, but they just leave it in.
Right. It's like, well, this is the end of everything. We'll figure out what that actually is later. Write that in.
Maybe in the DLC that we charge $40 for.
And they just never went back and edited it.
One of my favorite memories is when I was going to university and I was getting a ride from one of my teachers. And he was asking me like, oh, you know, what's the biggest game out right now or whatever. And I told him about Destiny, and I told him, oh, and get this, like, you'll love this. The enemy, like the big force that you're against, is the darkness. And he just paused. He's like, I'm like, no, that's literally all it is. There's nothing more to it. It's just the darkness. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Did he question whether it was the hyper popular early 2000s?
And then I told him, oh yeah, and the budget, the money they got for this, or at least their series, is $500 million. And he just kind of looks at me, and we're like almost gonna crash the car and shit because like he's kind of just staring at me and not looking where he's going.
Did you tell him what the Guardian power source was?
A big sphere in the sky.
No, straight up, it's just like, oh, what do the Guardians use to fight the darkness? Their light.
You know what actually pissed me off? Like around the time that Destiny 2 came out, because there was like some conversation on a Discord that I was running where someone was saying, man, I can't believe Angry Joe forgot Rasputin or whatever that guy's name is. And he's like, how could he forget that? And I'm like, I don't fucking remember that guy. I mean, granted, I only played Destiny once. He's like, well, he's the only major character from Destiny 1 you're supposed to remember. And I looked him up, and it showed Rasputin as like the computer. And like, that thing, I was supposed to remember that. I was supposed to remember one wave defense out of like the 50 that I fucking did in that 4-hour game. Yeah. I was supposed to remember that.
I just find it hilarious that he's like, that's the only character from Destiny that matters. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good game. Great defense.
Yeah. The saddest thing about Destiny, though, is that what the lore that was there in like the Grimoire cards outside of the fucking game for some odd reason was actually pretty damn good. So I think that's what Joe Staten wrote. Like the lore that was there was good. It just
I was reading about what happened. Supposedly Staten had written and gotten all these cinematics ready to show Activision, and when they showed them to Activision, they didn't like what they saw, so they kind of panicked, pulled everything, and made them start everything from scratch, but just left all that lore stuff in the cards or whatever the hell they're called.
That's all stuck in the Grimoire now. Dude. And now the Grimoire's not even there.
It's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is sad, because I guarantee a Staten's story would have been so good. Oh, I'm assuming that is the sole reason he quit Bungie.
That's another point, is when you got these games or long series that expects you to read this metric fuck ton of codex that's either in the game or outside of the game. Even in like a game I really love, Dragon Age Origins, like a lot of the codex is interesting, but a lot of it is just like 47th century of the Dragon Year calendar. The great King Waslalu went to the store.
I was gonna say, I swear, if you're about to say Halo 4, then I was about.
The other problem, like I mean, you bring up Dragon Age. The problem with a codex is that you don't have the emotional storytelling there to help really hammer in that information.
Well, you can with good writing, dude.
Well, I guess so, because it's like I've read some of I've read 3 Dragon Age books. They're surprisingly good, actually. Like a lot better than they're a lot better than the Mass Effect novels. I can say that much.
You read.
But it's like if I were to read the information that was in the second Dragon Age book in the Codex, I'd be bored out of my mind. But because you read the story, got to know the characters, got to know their personalities and their backstory, and see the drama and all that type of stuff, that information sticks with me. So when I see that information come up in Dragon Age Inquisition, because it involved Alistair and his family background, that actually had an impact on me. Whereas if I just read that in a codex, I think it wouldn't have been any more than just, oh, hey, I recognize that character's name. I read that in the fucking codex 5 years ago. Like, that's not really going to stick with me.
Yeah, Destiny just kind of expects you to do that.
Codexes work really well when they give like extra lore that's not necessary at all. It's just like a cool little side note. It's like, oh, here's the history of this species. You don't need to know their history to know why they're evil or good, but here's the history of them, or here's like how they function and stuff. But when codexes and expanded universe material are like required to know the story, that's like quite clearly like a major fucking problem. You can't expect an entire audience of like casual gamers to read a book to understand the story. That's a problem.
Well, then also, I don't. To me, the enjoyment I get out of reading codexes or reading like prequel novels or whatever is noticing those details, and because then it feels like I discovered those. Whereas if it's a required piece of information, then there's not even the enjoyment of discovery there.
Yeah, well, that's why
does it pretty well, where each item is described in a certain way.
Because you discover the meaning of things on your own, which is really.
Well, I think that's kind of why people probably there was that cult of fans for Destiny though that were digging up all those stories because they felt like they were discovering something, whereas in the main narrative they didn't.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's a different type of storytelling though. Like I've talked about it on the podcast before, but the Call of Duty Zombie storyline, that's precisely how that came to be. Like people picked out little pieces from the map, like literally things written on like really blurry chalkboards and shit, and then put it together and it actually made coherent sense. And then in comes Black Ops 1 and there's actually a coherent story. It's a different type of storytelling and it works in a different way, but it's probably actually my favorite, I think, because when you actually like make a discovery, it's so satisfying because not only have you just found a really cool piece of lore, but you found it yourself through your own work. It's a type of storytelling I wish more devs would use.
I'm actually playing The Evil Within 2 right now, and although it has some issues with its storytelling, like voice acting isn't as good as it could be, I'm actually finding it really interesting that if you play the main game, you kind of figure out the story, and then there's this thing like what's turning these monsters, what's turning all these people into monsters, and you read little hints if you pick up a codex here and there. But if you actually go and play some of the side missions and explore, there are like scripted events and things that you see, and you start piecing that together, and you're like, holy crap, like this is what's causing it, and it's like completely optional, but it's told through gameplay, through like essentially a side story, like almost its own story within this game. And I actually think
we've completely
really well.
strayed from the topic.
I realize that, but
I'm
like,
points,
well, if this is what we're gonna do, then.
Yeah,
people like us walking off the beaten path.
I was going to say I really liked the way Prey does that as well, because in Prey every single crew member is an actual character. I know, even though there's dozens of people on the space station and most of them are dead, they all have a backstory. They all have audio logs and things that add to the overall story, and I love discovering that, even if it is just completely off the beaten path.
Okay, we'll get back.
I think we should pitch this back to I Hate Everything. This new guy, because he seems to have some good ideas that spark discussion for this topic in particular, and I'm not sure why that is, but. Why don't you give us another one?
He's literally a professional at hating things. Of course he's.
Yeah, his job is to hate stuff.
Yeah, okay. This one you guys might like or it might annoy you. It's quite common now, just when talking about games and difficulty, to automatically compare it to blank.
blank.
I wonder what game that is.
Could it have been the one?
Turok Evolution?
Prior to joining this podcast, I was writing a script about Cuphead. And I'm like, for the love of God, please stop comparing things to Dark Souls. Just please. Just like, it's embarrassing. Dark Souls did not invent the concept of hard video games, okay?
Yeah. That's what I have written down, yeah.
But
it's what all the normies say that have never played any proper single player
with
games.
Cuphead,
this
dude,
is like Dark
Cuphead is actually so similar to it.
Oh,
I want to make.
Dude, what are you saying?
Dude, I want to make those comparisons, but like the problem is it's a meme now, and so I can't legitimately without having the exact reaction that you did.
Please tell me.
I can't actually bring that up.
What is comparable between Cuphead and Dark Souls, other than they are both difficult?
You can die in them both.
Epic. I don't know.
It forces you to. I don't want to get into it. Hey! I don't even want to go there.
It's straight up, people are like, "Oh yeah, Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, that's Dark Souls right there."
Well, here's the thing, though.
Crash Bandicoot is an old game.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's not even just the Dark Souls comparison. I mean, that's like the current one right now. That's like a fucking meme. But it's like how every character-based game. Oh, just like Overwatch. Oh, it's just like Overwatch. Overwatch invented the supers. Oh, it's got voxel graphics. Just like Minecraft. Minecraft invented those graphics.
And for story, it was, wonder if it's as good as BioShock.
Right. Right, but for real, like Cuphead Dark Souls, they don't even handle death the same way. Like, in Dark Souls, death is like this horrible thing. Like, oh my god, like I'm about to lose my shit. Like my actual shit, like my stuff, it's gonna be gone. In Cuphead, death is like a resource where you're gaining knowledge, right? So they don't even really handle death the same way. They're literally just both hard. They're just both difficult.
Actually, you're an immortal undead, and in Cuphead, you're an immortal cup. Similarity number 1.
All immortal character. Dark Souls invented immortal characters.
Dude, Dr. Nick's missions in The Simpsons Hit and Run were hard as shit, and that game had a pause menu as well, so the Dark Souls comparisons have never been more valid.
Well, do you guys think we should do one more
it's a
thing
lot
that we
more,
hate, and then
like,
move
I've
on
got
to
one.
I haven't even gotten to
question.
do one yet, but I've accepted the fact that I'm the low totem.
Yeah,
on
that's
this
why
pole.
that's why I jumped in here, Fab, because I realized
Fab,
it was a duel
stop
between
being
you and me.
self-deprecating, man.
What?
You're better than that.
I don't
No,
know
he's
if
not.
you treated me a little better, Matt.
I was just gonna say, I hate grinding. I've been trying to think, for it being such a popular thing in video games, whether it's MMOs, whether it's shooters, I can't think of a single gameplay experience that I'm like, oh yeah, this has been improving because I have to do this really boring task 50 times in order to unlock this thing just to progress.
Have you ever played Warframe?
No, I've played a little bit of it. I'm going to install it because of the new update because it does look pretty fun. But it's just like when I think of all the like Halo 2, I put that hundreds, maybe 1,000 hours into that game. I did not do it for grinding. I didn't do it because I want this skin or I want this character or I want that. I didn't play that for Halo 3. I'm not playing that for Rainbow Six Siege. Which
Well,
is
actually,
like the next played game.
That's
mine.
actually a really interesting point because in a way, grinding and difficulty are both meant to, create longevity for a game. Like difficulty in Cuphead, you're trying to beat it, and you can, a game that would usually take you an hour takes you 15 because it's so hard. And game journalists, they don't like that, but they're okay with grinding because it's easy. It's meaningless. You're just doing the same thing.
Exactly why I hate it.
Right, but you're technically succeeding constantly. You're just succeeding over the same thing over and over and over again. That's really easy and monotonous.
It's like saying, I accomplished walking to my fridge.
Right.
Well, I think
I'm accomplishing typing on my keyboard.
Now walk to your fridge 5 more times and you'll have a glass of milk.
That's the
the most ironic thing about that is the fact that like those health apps you get on your phone now, like Samsung Health, they actually give you achievements for doing shit like that. Like I got an achievement the other day for walking like 15,000 steps. Like, you've got an achievement for walking. The grind is real, guys. The grind is fucking real.
That's fine. It's trying to get you to be healthy. You're not healthy by
but the grind is real, dude. The grind is real. 100 emoji. The grind is real.
But that's the thing, though. It's like I understand that there is an audience for it, and if I look at it from the perspective of, let's say, World of Warcraft, and it's like this only game that I'm playing, and I hop on it, and I'm able to multitask doing these easy quests or whatever while chatting with friends or planning something bigger like a raid or whatever, I can see that in the context. It's just not why I personally play video games. I don't play video games. I don't play video games to get that. I go to a game because I want that to offer me an experience. I want it to be something emotional, be that fear, be that excitement, be that, whatever.
Yeah, well,
it needs to give me something. If I'm just blandly looking at my screen because I'm going to get something in an hour from now, I'm just going to move on.
I
think the problem is that
accomplishes that better. Hey, you know what, Hidden Xperia? You get to talk a lot on this show. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, go on then.
I'm done. I already made my point. I literally just said difficulty accomplishes that better.
Oh, like in Dark Souls?
Yeah, actually, in Dark Souls. But not.
Okay,
it's not an exclusive trait to Dark Souls.
Fav, dude, it's my time to speak. I've got the talking stick.
Get on with it.
You've got a talking stick.
I'll explain later.
You've got the Elder Wand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got the sorting hat. Yeah, what I was gonna say is I think before games always had grind in them, kind of like Halo 3 had grind in it to get like a 5-star general. It was just the grind was masked by other. What's the word? It wasn't portrayed as a grind.
Then
the
it's
grind
not a
was
grind.
sort of in the background.
You weren't really playing it to get that, but that was kind of like in the back of your head. That was like a subconscious grind.
There's a difference between.
Well, not necessarily. Like you were grinding for that rank, but you were doing things
Because the game was fun.
You have an actual game to play to get to that level 50. You don't
not a grind to
shoot this fucking thing 5,000 times.
Right.
Maybe we'll give you a reward.
Or press the
put it this
macro
way,
on
it's
your
like
keyboard.
going from, for example, like grinding now is like going from A to B, whereas grinding back then was like to get from A to B, you had to go through like, let's say to get from like A to Z, you had to go through B, C, D, E, F, G, if you get me. Like you had to do multiple different things, whereas now the grind is sort of just like you do the same thing over and over again, like you repeat a strike or a raid or a mission time after time after time after time again, whereas before it had variety.
Yeah. Well, do you guys want to move on to viewer questions?
Yep.
Why not?
I'll just go fuck myself.
Why?
Yes, sir.
Well, you got any last thoughts, Fab?
Nope.
You want a back rub? My hands are right here, bro. I mean, I got you, dude. I got you.
You got the lotion and everything.
This is going to be the
I
ASMR
don't-
podcast.
I don't got lotion.
No,
It's
because
just.
I feel like what I was going to say would take up too much time. So let's just go into the viewer questions.
Okay. So we got a question from Ross Graham that is, what do you miss in gaming nowadays?
It's not like we just mentioned something that could have segued right into this.
I think
but,
I Hate
that's
Everything
unfortunate.
should do this one.
Games that were a complete package when you paid the full price for them.
Yep.
Wait, that
Amen,
was a thing?
hallelujah.
Wait,
Why
they used
on
to
earth
do
would
that?
you ever miss that? I love having to pay $60 4 times.
Do you enjoy the part where you have to like pick between the 5 million edition of every game?
I love having to check which retailer has the specific pre-order.
No, do you know,
bonus
like I
want.
see IGN post articles of like pre-order guide for Game X, and it's like, are you serious?
Oh
You
my
need
God.
a guide for it.
Oh,
You know what?
God.
Back in
Just
the day,
sickening.
I looked at game guides and I thought those were fucking bullshit because the internet existed and they were charging $40 for a fucking guide where I thought that was a complete ripoff. Now you're having to look up online guides to figure out which one to buy. No,
To get the best pre-order bonus, pre-order from 7 different stores.
You know what? It's not even just that. Like, I'm really concerned with Red Dead Redemption 2 because of what Rockstar did with GTA 5. You know, Rockstar, they put together this thing, they bring out GTA 5, and they're like, yep, this is the best game we could possibly make. A year later, we're just kidding. We actually have all this other shit that it doesn't have. We need to release it again. But you have to pay $60 for it again.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, I think we all miss that. All right, next question. So this one's actually pretty good. It is from Leather Bagel. Does not sound too appetizing, but here we go. Do you think, and if you do, when and what will... Wow, that's kind of wordy. Okay. Do you think there will be a breaking point for microtransactions in the gaming industry? I just rephrased that for you, Leather Bagel.
I think there will be.
Yeah, I think we're reaching that point now with all these petitions coming out. I'm not going to say that any of these petitions are actually going to do anything because I absolutely think that they're going to do fuck all. But
Dude, the one
the
for
fact
the
that
UK
people
got
are
like
actually
11,000 signatures. Like that.
Yeah,
Doesn't
the government.
matter.
The government.
The UK has had bigger petitions that they did
Yeah.
nothing about.
Well, no, they do. They in air quotes, they do something. They issue like a fucking like pre-written response, like, oh, we've considered this and we believe it not to be gambling, yada yada yada. These petitions are a good start, and it's like an escalation because before it was just people making videos about it. Now there's actual movements in air quotes starting to get this shit sorted. Which is a nice escalation of it. But I think give it a year or two, and there will be a breaking point where I've got a feeling there's going to be one game that pushes it over the fucking bridge, like takes it to a limit that no one's ever seen before.
They're going to
And
keep pushing
everyone's
it
sort
till
of
they
like,
get there.
Is that game not
then
Battlefront 2?
Everyone's gonna like collectively reach this point where they're like, okay, fuck this, I'm not buying this game. This is ridiculous.
Like
Is that
I think
game not
Shadow
Battlefront
of
2
War,
though?
I think
it
it's
could be.
COD
It
World
could
War
be.
II, dude.
Like I was gonna buy that game, but after I played the beta and saw the horrible system, I was like, nah, not interested.
After the first thing that happens when you open the beta up is the microtransaction screen. The first thing you're greeted by in a fucking beta is buy these little packs. Like, come on, dude.
That was the thing when I realized that it would take me 20 hours to unlock a gun in Battlefront 2 at the rate that I was going, and that was exactly the same as PlanetSide 2, a free-to-play game. I was like, yeah, I can't support this. I can't buy this game. In
What
good
I
conscience.
what I think's scary is that the thing I was going to say I hated, which ties into this, is
All right, moving on, everyone.
is gamers who say microtransactions are okay if they're cosmetic only. And I'm like, you know what? Not only do I disagree with that, but it's like, it's not even the problem we're dealing with right now. Right now, microtransactions are horrible. they're gameplay altering, right? Battlefront 2's entire gameplay reward class-based system revolves around microtransactions. Everything is tied to a microtransaction system. And you look at, Shadow of War, which is like this single-player game, the thing that we were talking about earlier, these beautiful things, they're even being infested with intrusive microtransactions that are implemented in literally what defines that game, the Nemesis system. That is what that game is almost famous for. And it's altering and changing what people consider the best part of that game for the negative. So they've gotten really dangerous. They're beyond cosmetics. They're beyond just, instead of having a rewarding, fulfilling reward system where you get stuff through earning them, you just buy them with microtransactions. Now they're actually altering gameplay things, and that's horrible. So
I think it needs to be really clear that that a microtransaction system being cosmetic only, that's the best of a worst case scenario. That's like
still
the best
a bad
of the shit.
It's
still
the least shitty
a bad
situation.
Yes, exactly. It's not a good system.
What was it you said? The best in a shit lot?
Yeah, it's the best. It's the least shit in the shit lot.
Right.
In the shit lot.
Right. And that it's horrifying when people constantly say like, "Oh, it's cosmetic only, so it's all right." It's like, yeah, but it's replacing a potentially better reward system.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say that I think the people that defend like these microtransaction systems, and I'm saying this with the full confidence that like 95% of them are complete shit, but like the people that stick up for them, I think are just like they're either so dumb or they're not old enough to remember a time when games actually didn't need to nickel and dime you for anything.
I think
they
more
never
just
needed to do that.
I don't think
it's more
being
just
dumb.
people. I don't think it's stupidity. I think it's just ignorance.
Well,
I mean, it's
I say that to try and be, kind of a dick about it.
Well, I'm glad you took that. Because when I think back to like when Halo 5, I selfishly looked at that and I went, yes, that system sucks. But you know what? I prefer the arena. That's just my style of gameplay, and it doesn't affect me. So, whatever. And that's like, so I can look at that selfish angle, but as I get older and I see more of these systems getting into more and more games, I realize that selfish mindset, that is what everyone shares, and that's how they're able to get away with it.
Well, I think what causes it is I think people, when they enjoy something, they don't want to see bad things that it does, right? Like the people who enjoy COD, who really love it, they're like, oh yeah, it has this microtransaction system, but like, I still enjoy the game. Like it's not intruding on my fun. And I got into an argument with someone on Twitter the other day when I was saying, microtransactions have ruined like 4 or 5 games for me this year and caused me not to buy them specifically because of microtransactions. And he's like, well, I think Rainbow Six Siege handles it pretty good. And I'm like, what?
As a fan of Siege,
what?
No, it doesn't.
I'm like, it does almost every trick in the book. You know what I mean? It does almost every dirty trick in the book, and I'm like laying it all out. And he's like, well, as someone who's spent 300 hours in this game, I can tell you that it's not that bad. I'm like, okay, well, someone who spends 300 hours in a game obviously really enjoys it, obviously plays a lot and gets a lot of currency. And he even admitted, he's like, yeah, and I bought the season pass for season 2 because, I just wanted to support because I wanted to support the developers. And I'm like, well, how do you think I feel when I haven't played that much? And I have all these operators for sale that cost 25,000 renown points or whatever, which is, by the way, the equivalent of unlocking every base operator in the game.
For one character.
And then they do the shady, buy fake currencies, but then the things you can buy with those fake currencies are always price tiered to where you never can get things exactly. You either have to spend too much or buy 2, or you're going to have stuff left over. You know what I mean? So that
you can only buy it in like a specific lot. You can't buy like.
This character requires 1,300 points. Oh, and the other pack costs 1,200 points.
I
guess I'm gonna need to get the $25 bundle.
But the point is,
League of Legends in a nutshell.
And the point is like I can understand it because I think Rainbow Six Siege is an excellent game. But I think people, because they find a game so fun, and that is understandable, they will defend some of the shitty business practices in it because they have an investment to it and they don't want to feel like they're being taken advantage of with their time.
Resident Evil 6 wasn't as good as RE4? No.
Oh no!
No, that
not
can't
again!
be.
Not again! Not again!
Not again.
No,
That's
Mr.
like,
Kennedy.
but here's the thing. That's the thing. You can love a game and hate a part of its systems. Those things are not mutually exclusive. You can do both at the same time. I can say Rocket League is awesome. Fuck its loot boxes. I hate its loot boxes.
Can I just real quick add another point to this? There's also an argument I see where people are like, oh well, people can't afford DLC and microtransactions offer free DLC that they can get with, and they don't have to spend anything. The DLC technically isn't free. It's not because of the microtransactions either. And B, DLC was never meant to be an essential part of a game. That's a problem with more modern DLCs, that it's an essential thing, like it's an essential expansion, like for Destiny or something, where basically if you want to play Destiny properly, you need all the expansions.
Right.
Back in the day, expansions for like Battle for Middle-earth, like RTS games did it really well actually, like Battle for Middle-earth and StarCraft. They were expansions that were not essential, and they genuinely expanded on the content that the game had at launch. It took the content and it just built on it, added cool new stuff. It maybe changed it a little bit here and there. It added new features. It never was a requirement or a necessity, and it was always genuinely good, worthwhile content.
That's a really good point, and I've never even really thought about it this way, but I'm wondering if maybe people feel entitled to free DLC because their definition of what DLC are things that are essential to the game, right? Because that's what it's become.
Yeah, because things like Destiny expansions, like Taken King. If you wanted to do anything in Destiny 1, you basically fucking needed that. Like, if you wanted a game that felt like an actual complete game, you needed to buy Taken King.
But you did have to buy Taken King.
Before expansions, like, here's the way to think about it. Before DLC, it came out for games that earned it. Either critically or commercially. That was what convinced the company to make an expansion for it. That is what it used to be. Now, it's because it's expected, everyone does it, and it's not special anymore.
That's a very good point, actually. Yeah, because
let's pass the torch to I Hate Everything. Yeah. If you got another, I guess a quick topic we could tackle to the ground, and then we could probably wrap this up.
Most of my ones we've actually covered in there. I did put as a footnote. I know it's probably been done to death already. You even had
footnotes. Wow, you make me
my boy's prepared.
I just find it. We're still on. We changed the topic now to a different thing we hate.
Absolutely.
We'll just kind of wrap it up.
We're fluid.
Try and guess which series I'm alluding to, but I absolutely cannot wrap my head around whose idea it was to completely change the entire art direction of a game series that was so famous and
so iconic,
wonderful, and I was trying to avoid saying iconic.
It's got to be the Paper Mario series.
Now you're talking my language, my boy.
Sticker Star.
Why are you guys talking about Marvel vs. Capcom that way?
It just makes no sense to me. Readers, like, if you're taking over a game or continuing a series, redesigning everything that you liked about the series from the ground up is such a strange and bizarre choice that it just boggles the mind.
Imagine taking one of gaming's most iconic. I'm going to use the fucking most iconic. I'm using this in a genuine sense. Imagine taking one of Halo's one of gaming's most iconic protagonists, who is arguably the face of an entire console, and completely changing how that character looks.
Yeah,
I can't process the logic. I mean, I get why FIFA 3 changed some things. I totally do, but
we need to be careful.
This is
a rabbit hole. This is
This is how you trigger me.
We're creating a continuum.
We have literally all made hundreds of hours of content about this topic.
I haven't.
Halo changing. I know, Ray.
I talked about it for like 10 minutes.
So can I finish my point real quick?
Yeah, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay, I understand why people who wanted to change some things. Totally makes sense. They want to put their own stamp on the franchise. I get it. Makes sense. Go ahead for a few things. But changing one of the most iconic characters in gaming and also a console's face, I still cannot. I can't fathom that. I can't piece together why anyone thought that was a good idea.
All right. And so it was that the ASO podcast ended on a note about the Halo art style.
But would I Hate Everything use his super ultra laser to destroy the ASO crew? Would they stand up in fusion again to fight the guy who's with the laser? He's been charging it for 7 episodes.
For a spin-off episode.
Find out 5 seasons from now, maybe.
Will he ever reach Super Saiyan -1? Find out next time, or probably not. Who knows? On the next thing, the ASO podcast. All right, so that's the end of the podcast. Thank you all for watching. If you've got some viewer questions, be them good, smart, or stupid, post them down below and maybe we'll answer them. I'd like to give thanks to I Hate Everything for taking time out of his day to come here and just shoot the shit. So thanks for that, dude.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan, and it's really honoring to be on.
Dude, come on. I'm supposed to say that.
You know what? He got more in than Game Cheat did. I realize we're a hard bunch to. We fight for airtime
every second of
screen
time.
And of course we all trample on Fav as well. We all push Fav to the bottom, unfortunately.
I've just been here a little bit longer, so I can hop in and just like kind of bully my way in, and they're like, well, let's let him talk for a few minutes.
Let's let him get his 2 cents. But yeah, thanks for watching. That's all we've got for today. Blah, blah, blah.